What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. With Wuthering Waves version 3.5 officially here, we are looking at one of the most stacked character banner lineups Kuro Games has ever delivered. Deciding exactly where to spend your hard-earned asteroids has never been more important for the future of your account. In today's video, we are breaking down every single major character available in this update, analyzing their account value, team synergies, and meta potential so you can make the absolute smartest choice for your roster. Let us jump right in. So, let us start with the one most people have been waiting for, Xuanling. Let us get the obvious part out of the way first. It is Yangyang, or more specifically, the long-awaited 5-star version of Yangyang. And honestly, that is already enough to get a massive portion of the Wuthering Waves player base incredibly excited. But thankfully, she is not relying on nostalgia or story relevance alone. Everything we have seen so far from the beta leaks points towards Xuanling being an absolutely devastating Havoc main damage dealer that is capable of dealing incredibly high damage throughout her entire rotation, rather than just putting all of her power into one single button. What is especially interesting about her kit is that she's completely built around the Havoc Bane negative status mechanic. Now, if you have been paying close attention to the recent character releases, you will easily notice that Kuro Games has been slowly but surely introducing elemental archetypes that are not fully complete yet upon their initial launch. We saw this earlier when Fusion Burst did not immediately have every single puzzle piece available on launch day. And also, let us not forget about how they handled the Glacio Rectifier archetype. Well, Havoc Bane seems to be following that exact same design pattern. Right now, Chisa is basically the only character in the entire game that can consistently help Xuanling stack Havoc Bane to its maximum potential. Meaning, Xuanling is expected to be fairly self-sufficient for the time being until more dedicated Havoc teammates arrive in the future. Now, normally, being forced to wait for teammates would sound like a massive downside, but I actually think it is one of her absolute biggest strengths. Think about it this way. If she is already performing at an incredibly high level without a premium sub-damage dealer specifically designed to enable her, imagine what happens when Kuro finally releases a dedicated Havoc Bane support for her. We have seen this exact story play out before. Characters that launch before the complete premium team often end up aging incredibly well because every single future teammate that releases becomes another massive indirect buff to their personal damage ceiling. So, if you are someone who likes investing into characters that have plenty of room to grow and scale over time, Xuanling is probably one of the safest bets in the entirety of version 3.5. Another thing I absolutely love about her kit is her attack range. From the early gameplay footage we have analyzed, she does not seem limited to tiny, stubby melee attacks. She has surprisingly good reach with her manifested sword, making her much more comfortable to play against large groups of enemies compared to many of the traditional damage dealer characters we have right now. That does not necessarily mean she's going to completely replace someone like Frolova in heavy area of effect focus situations, but it definitely means she should not struggle whenever multiple enemies suddenly appear on the field. Now, the big question, should every single player pull for her? Not necessarily. If your account already has several top-tier damage dealers covering a wide variety of different elements, adding another main carry might not actually change your account as much as pulling a powerful universal support would. But if you are currently missing a premium Havoc damage dealer, if you want a character that will likely receive massive indirect buffs in future updates, or if you simply enjoy investing into a character before their complete team arrives to watch them grow, Yangyang Xuanling looks like an excellent top-tier long-term investment. And honestly, I would not be surprised if 6 months from now, we are all looking back and saying she only got exponentially stronger over time. Now, let us transition over and talk about the character that I honestly believe has the highest chance of becoming the absolute smartest investment of this entire patch, which is Lynae. Because here is something I have said for a very long time on this channel. Damage dealer characters will constantly come and go, but premium supports stay relevant forever. Every few patches, we get another shiny new damage dealer claiming the absolute top spot on the meta tier lists. But universal supports, those rare, account-changing characters, survive entire regions or even the version cycle itself. And Lynae looks exactly like one of those legendary characters. She is technically classified by the game as a sub-damage dealer, but calling her just another sub-damage dealer honestly completely undersells the massive amount of utility she brings to an account. She buffs practically everything you could ever ask for. We are talking about an all-type damage bonus, a massive resonance liberation damage buff, tune break amplification, and a raw attack stat increase. And you get even more insane damage multipliers if you happen to own her premium signature weapon. Her buff list is honestly just ridiculous to look at on paper, but the absolute biggest reason she is so incredibly valuable is not actually the raw numbers she provides, it is her unparalleled flexibility. Think about how many sub-damage dealers in Wuthering Waves are permanently locked to one specific archetype. Some only shine within dedicated fusion teams, others only reach their full potential alongside one specific hyper-carry damage dealer. Lynae does not have that problem at all. Outside of a few extremely specialized and niche pairings, she can seamlessly slot into almost any team composition in the entire game and immediately improve their clear times. She acts as the exact kind of character that just keeps inherently increasing in value every single patch. Every time Kuro Games releases another resonance liberation focused damage dealer, another tune break focused character, or just another general hyper carry, there is a very high chance Lynae directly benefits from it too. That is exactly why so many theory crafters and beta testers are already comparing her to the Shorekeeper and other god tier supports. It is not because they do the exact same specific job, but because they are the exact type of characters that quietly become the staple backbone across dozens of different teams instead of just being locked to one. And personally, those are the exact types of characters I absolutely love recommending to people, especially for free-to-play players or complete newbies, because you do not need to constantly replace them every time the meta shifts. Instead, every single new damage dealer you pull simply becomes another excellent teammate for Lynae. That is what I call true, undeniable account value. Of course, if you are a brand new player with literally zero good damage dealers on your account, she is not going to magically carry your account by herself. A sub-damage dealer still inherently needs someone worth supporting to function properly. But for anyone with even one or two modern damage dealer characters already built, Lynae might honestly improve your account far more than another shiny main carry ever could. Next, let us move on to a character that I genuinely think is not getting anywhere near enough attention right now, and that is Luuk Herssen. Because every single time people talk about the version 3.5 banners or just the 3.0 era damage dealers in general, they somehow completely forget about Luuk. And I think that is a massive mistake. Not because he is secretly the absolute strongest damage dealer in the whole game, he is not, okay? But because he offers something that is becoming surprisingly rare in Wuthering Waves lately, which is pure, unfiltered accessibility. You do not need a ridiculous, highly invested premium team for him to function well. You do not need multiple limited 5-star supports before he finally starts dealing respectable damage numbers. You do not even need an expensive signature weapon to make his gameplay loop feel smooth and rewarding. In fact, one of Luuk's absolute biggest selling points is just how incredibly beginner-friendly he is designed to be. His entire kit is entirely self-sufficient. He can easily generate his own required chain stacks and manage his I-core flow, and even his alternative weapon options are much easier to obtain compared to many of the recent damage dealer characters. On top of that, Sanhua, a fantastic 4-star character that almost every single player can get their hands on very early on, already works incredibly flawlessly with him. And I think that is something people severely underestimate when evaluating new units. Whenever a new damage dealer drops, everyone immediately asks one simple question: how much damage does this character do on a spreadsheet? But I think there is another crucial question that is just as important for the average player: how much does this character actually cost in terms of resources before they actually become good? Some damage dealer characters practically demand that you pull 2 other limited characters just to function properly. Others feel incredibly clunky and frustrating if they do not have their signature weapon equipped. Some even feel completely incomplete without their absolute best premium teammates backing them up. Luuk really does not have any of those glaring problems. He gives you a very high return on your investment even if you are working with a relatively modest, free-to-play account. That is incredible value for newer players who are just starting to build out their rosters. Now, Do not get me wrong, he is not completely flawless. His biggest, most obvious weakness is his area of effect damage, or rather, his lack thereof. His kit naturally heavily leans towards single-target boss killing or taking down massive elite enemies in the Tower of Adversity endgame modes. And even though teammates can probably help cover that glaring weakness through some light grouping mechanics, the core issue remains. But here's the thing. How much that specific weakness actually matters depends entirely on what your account currently needs. If you're only ever going to use him on end-state matrix bosses or the absolute hardest floors of the Tower of Adversity, he is actually a top-tier pick. So, should you pull Luuk? Honestly, if you are a newer player actively looking for a highly reliable spectral damage dealer, if you do not want to go broke chasing multiple premium teammates, or if you simply enjoy characters that generously reward you for learning their rotations without demanding absolutely perfect frame-perfect execution, Luuk is a fantastic pickup. He might not be the absolute flashiest character in this entire patch, but true value is not always about pulling the absolute mathematically strongest unit. Sometimes it is just about giving players a very powerful character without asking them to spend the next 3 patches finishing the team composition, and Luuk does exactly that with flying colors. Now, we finally arrive at probably the biggest, most impactful character release of the version 3.5 cycle, SuiSui. Her design direction seems pretty incredibly obvious right from the start. Everything we have seen deeply points towards SuiSui becoming a dedicated, premium support character, particularly tailored for negative status-focused teams. Her Resonance Liberation appears to create a massive supportive field, highly similar to what other top-tier support characters do, and her kit interactions strongly suggest she will work very closely with the Glacio Rectifier archetype. Now, why is that so incredibly exciting for the meta? Because if you have been closely following Kuro Games' design philosophy lately, you will notice they have been slowly completing these archetypes one single piece at a time. First comes the main damage dealer, then the sub-damage dealer, and finally the ultimate piece of the puzzle, the dedicated premium support. So, if SuiSui truly ends up becoming another premium support specifically designed for negative status teams, she may end up being much more important than most people initially realize right now. Supports are very often the vital glue that makes an entire archetype feel smooth, cohesive, and complete. And based on all the current beta information we have access to, SuiSui could be exactly that missing puzzle piece. She appears fully capable of vastly increasing negative status stat limits, massively improving overall team performance, while also potentially offering incredible universal utility like potent healing or huge team-wide buffs alongside her archetype-specific strength, which naturally revolves around Glacio Rectifier. But here is why I am personally keeping a very close eye on her potential. Even if you do not own characters like Hyuki right now today, future character releases always matter. Imagine Kuro releases another incredibly strong Glacio Rectifier damage dealer 6 months from now, or just another negative status carry who immediately becomes top tier strictly because of their synergy with SuiSui and Chisa. That is one of the biggest reasons dedicated supports tend to age so incredibly well in this game. They are never actively competing against future damage dealers for a spot on your roster. They are simply existing to enable them to reach even higher numbers. In my own personal opinion, SuiSui is actually the highest inherent account value pull right here, sitting comfortably alongside Lynae. So, if you are someone who has already heavily invested your resources into negative status teams, pulling her is probably one of the absolute easiest recommendations I can make in this entire patch. Finally, let us wrap things up by talking about Aemeath. And honestly, I truly think she is slowly becoming one of the absolute most underrated characters in the entire game simply because she is not the brand new, shiny toy on the block anymore. This exact phenomenon happens almost every single patch cycle. A brand new damage dealer gets released and everyone immediately forgets about the previous reigning champion. Then, a few weeks later, people check the clear times and suddenly realize, wait a minute, they are still completely broken. That is basically Aemeath in a nutshell. Even after multiple major game updates, she is still easily one of the absolute strongest damage dealers in the entire game. And even more importantly, she is one of the most impressively flexible carries we have ever seen. She is not permanently locked into just one single rigid team composition. She is not hard-locked into one specific narrow archetype to deal damage. She can completely and comfortably fit into Toon Strain teams, Fusion Burst compositions, or even pure mono fusion teams, depending entirely on what your account already has built and ready to go. And that level of adaptability is a massive, undeniable advantage because flexibility ultimately means longevity in gacha games. If one specific team composition falls out of favor due to new boss mechanics, another one of her teams usually remains incredibly strong and viable. That is exactly what has happened with Aemeath so far, and that is exactly why she is still considered one of the absolute best top-tier damage dealers you can get. Another specific thing I really appreciate about her kit is how well she consistently performs across vastly different types of endgame content. Some damage dealers specialize almost exclusively in single-target boss fights, while others heavily dominate wave-based mob stages. Aemeath, however, can comfortably handle both scenarios with ease depending on exactly which team composition you are currently using. Her Fusion Burst team absolutely excels in heavy area of effect situations thanks to the massive crowd control and the potent damage over time effects, while her Toon Rupture setups keep her incredibly competitive in strict single-target boss scenarios. That is exactly the rare kind of versatility that keeps a character highly relevant for many months on end. Now, is she the absolute best beginner pull for a brand new account? Maybe not exactly. She definitely does appreciate having stronger, well-built teammates to fully unlock everything her complex kit has to offer. But for veteran players with more established, mature accounts, she is absolutely still one of the safest, most reliable damage dealer investments you can possibly make. She is incredibly powerful, brilliantly flexible, and wonderfully future-proof. Those three specific qualities are very hard to ignore when you are deciding where to spend your hard-earned Astrotees. So yeah, that wraps up everything you need to know about the current banner landscape. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one.